2021 is property tax reassessment time here in Colorado, and in the last election, voters said yes to a major property tax change. They passed Amendment B, and that is probably going to give us a major tax increase. Colorado has long been considered a very tax-friendly state. Hey, we are not Florida, we're not Arizona, but we have long been favored in the eyes of out-of-staters. We don't have the property tax rates of the Northeast. People have really appreciated what they see on property taxes when they're looking for homes here. But that may soon be a thing of the past with the passage of Amendment B in the election of 2020. Hey everybody, it's Alyson Wahl with Live South Denver, your real estate strategist and realtor for the South Denver area. So Amendment B repealed the Gallagher Amendment, which was passed back in 1982. Back then, there was a lot of pushback, even all across the country, on property tax rates. The property tax rate on the assessed value of a home here in Colorado in 1982 was about 30%, more than 4 times the current rate, which is just over 7%. The Gallagher Amendment that passed did 2 things. It essentially split the tax burden between residential and non-residential and set tax rates for both residential and non-residential categories, as well as formulas for determining any changes to those rates. The tax burden was 45% for the residential side and 55% for non-residential, which is, your industrial, your office space, your agriculture, your vacant land, etc. Now they came to that number because at that time, residential was essentially making up 45% of the pie when it came to property tax and what was feeding the coffers. Well, today it's more like 80%. Residential is such a big part of the pie. It's no longer 45-55, so it's not an equal split, it's 80-20. And so therein lies the challenge and why Amendment B has come into play and handedly passed in this last election. I anticipated it would be very close, and it was nearly 60-40. So as I mentioned, when Gallagher was passed in the 80s, the tax rate on assessed value for a home was at 30%. Over time, it has come down to what it is today in the 7% range. And at the time, residential was making up 45% of the pie. So let's give an example of how Amendment B came around. A $300,000 home in 1980 taxing at 30% in a district taxing at 60 mils would be bringing in about $5,400 a year in property tax income. But today, a neighborhood where you have a $300,000 home would only be taxing 7% roughly on assessed value and would only be bringing in about $1,300 in property taxes. The difference is obviously huge. Now, for the sake of argument, that home in the 80s is probably still there, and its value has gone up probably 5-6-fold since then. It's not as if the county is missing out on an increase in value. What Amendment B did was repeal both the 45-55 ratio between residential and non-residential, as well as take away the rates and formulas that were in the Gallagher Amendment. The rates that are there right now are frozen to date, but they are not required to stay. They can be changed. A few media outlets have said that because home values have increased so much over the last year that when we go through reassessment in this coming year, homeowners should expect to see a decrease in their property taxes. That's logically how this is supposed to work when we're looking at these ratios between non-residential and residential. However, I have reached out to county assessors, I have reached out to the state, I have talked to people and asked for some answers. I'm not getting anything firm. I have no numbers, I have no percentages, and it will vary by district and where you're living. But the answer I do keep getting is taxes are going to go up. So while it's great for someone to conjecture what they're anticipating, particularly in the media and prior to an election, the answer I'm getting is taxes are going to increase. I'm hoping not by much. And hey, theoretically, both could be right. Yes, because our home values have gone up, you are going to see an increase in what you pay out in your dollar value of taxes, but maybe the rate could go down. But I don't think that the people I was emailing and talking to and getting answers from misunderstood what I meant. And I believe they understood I was talking about the tax rate, which means we're in for a tax rate hike, which will also mean a dollar for dollar hike. So to sum it all up, Colorado property taxes are on their way up. Sadly, I don't think we're gonna have such a favorable tax burden rating when we come around next year and we're reviewed by Wallet Hub, or as those of you who are looking to move here from another state start to ask me, What do the property taxes look like on that home? I am having these conversations one at a time, but I thought now is the time to start giving you a heads up so you can factor this into how you're budgeting for your house. Lenders don't know the answer yet. I don't know the answer yet, but it's fair for you to start thinking ahead and planning for an increase. Colorado assesses property taxes every 2 years on the odd year, so 2019, 2021, 2023, etc. The market data that county assessors use to calculate the following 2 years' property tax bills is limited to the data collected to, quote, the 1.5 year period immediately prior to July 1, immediately preceding the assessment date. Very particular. So for this coming assessment year, it's January 1 of 2019 to June 30th of 2020. Here's the way property taxes work. It's the market value for your home times the assessed value, which is currently 7.2%, times the mills for your district, which in Douglas County, which is a large part of South Denver, is 75.5 mills. And then that is divvied up to the different areas that it's going to serve. I hope you're feeling up to date about all things Colorado. If you have any questions, I would love to connect. I can't wait to hear from you. Hey, I will see y'all next week.